What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Yala, your thrice weekly podcast where we talk about the hottest news with a touch of what, Terence?
Good old humor, man. Good old humor.
Good old humor.
Mm.
It's midweek, man.
Yeah.
Midweek of the March holiday week.
Yeah. It's probably a very busy week for a lot of young families, having to take care of the kids and work and everything at the same time.
Yeah.
And but yeah, like, as usual, we're here with Yalla Butt to accompany you. If you're thinking, where can I bring my kids for a meal, or what else is there, what news is there to complain about when talking to my family and all that.
So you're saying that people should stop paying attention to their kids and listen to us?
No, that's the beauty of podcasts, right? You can listen to us while also doing stuff with your kids and all that, whether it's driving or something.
Really? just as long as they're not trying to talk to you. You can play with them. If your kid wants to talk to you, just tell them, guys, I'm listening to something very important.
Yeah.
I'll be back with you in about an hour. Maybe 45 minutes if I increase the speed.
No, don't increase the speed.
Right.
Don't increase the speed. Just enjoy the moments. Yeah.
You can do whatever you want, man.
Don't need to increase. Yeah. Just don't need, so don't need to keep telling people to increase the speed. Just do what
I
you
never
want.
keep telling. When was the last time I said
You just did.
increase?
You just did.
But the last time before that, keep telling implies multiple times of telling.
Yeah. I'm sure it's not. I mean, I think over time I've also learned to just enjoy the podcasts that I listen to as well, rather than speed through them. Because I think it's in the process of enjoying the podcast that's actually a very big part that I'm not trying to just devour the information. Sometimes it's just hanging out, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I devour the information.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like eating. Some people like to eat slow, some people like to eat fast.
I think it's like how you used to think of food as fuel, right? Right. And then after that, when you met your partner and everything, she helped you understand the joys in eating slower a bit, right? Enjoy your food a bit more. Yeah.
I also helped her understand the benefit of sometimes don't eat so slow.
Wow, you must be such a fun person to be around at meals. Everybody, here's your example of like why Harish is a fun person to hang out with at meals, and why you hear me bitching about it so much every time about whether it's vegetarian Tuesdays or like how I can't just enjoy my drink.
Hey, sometimes slow, sometimes fast. I gotta mix it up. When I eat with you, Terence, you always finish first, no?
Actually, yeah, that's true, right? That's the irony, right? I say I enjoy it, but I eat so fast, right?
Fucking fast, dude.
I inhale my food, whereas you inhale your podcast and you don't, but you take your time, you take a long time to eat. Yeah.
Exactly. So so
the yin and yang.
So I mean, it sets a good context for our first topic, right?
Yes, perfect. Actually,
the topic of food. But before that, what would we like to say, Terence?
Yeah, I think we've been teasing it for a while. We've talked about the fact that we're going to come forward and finally tell the story of what happened with She's a Terrorist and I Love Her, whether it's on this podcast or on our social media. But more importantly than that, right, Harish? What else are we putting up?
This week, end of the week, we'll be dropping the trailer for the series. And this is a series we made back in 2020. If you're first time listening, wondering what the fuck is She's a Terrorist and I Love Her, it's the first comedy series that we ever made. It was our love child, and we are so proud of it, but we haven't been able to show it for the past 3 years. So in the coming weeks, we're going to share our story, but starting this by the end of this week on our MOF, Instagram, TikTok, wherever, we'll be dropping the series trailer. And who knows what will be coming in the next few weeks.
Yeah. I think we just want to show people what we did 3 years ago. But also, exactly. I think there's a lot of people maybe who listen to this podcast who may have no clue what we're talking about, right? And this is your chance to finally catch up with everyone else and understand what has been going on.
Yeah, exactly. It's our love child. I acted, Terence directed with a bunch of talented people.
Yeah.
So, exciting times. Exciting next few weeks.
Yeah. But meanwhile.
Sweet. Yeah.
Meanwhile.
Cool.
shall we jump right into
Yes.
the first topic, which is weighs very heavily on everyone's stomachs, right?
Yeah. Because this past Monday, 13th March, the Institute of Policy Studies dropped a research paper that looked at the prices of Singapore food, like local food at hawker centers, coffee shops, and food courts, and to see whether there was any drastic price increase before and after the GST increase in January 2023. So, I mean, the headlines that you would probably have seen in the news are along the lines of like, study finds eating out cheapest in Toa Payoh, most expensive in Bishan. Many stalls didn't raise prices after GST hike. Yeah,
That's
so they actually broke it down in terms of the average breakfast meal, lunch meal, dinner meal. What are the different items that make up the different meals? But I mean, which we will get into. But when you saw these sort of headlines and this study, which is called the Makan Index 2.0, what were your thoughts, Terence?
I thought, yeah, it's a very timely study, lah. Because everyone's talking about the cost of living. But we're always also reminded that, in general, food in Singapore, especially at hawker centers and all, is still very much affordable. So yeah, I mean, it's not only just the consumers that worry about the cost of prices, but how about the hawkers themselves? Hawkers or people who run these stalls. Like, how are they managing the rise in the prices of ingredients and not chasing away customers with increasing prices? So, yeah, I thought it's a very timely study. So, and again, I think it's one of those things that will also elicit a lot of pride amongst different people, right? About, I live here, and this is what I didn't know that my place was maybe the most expensive or the cheapest in Singapore. So it's definitely it's one of those things that everyone will read and have an opinion about. Yeah, how about you, man?
Yeah. And I mean, I saw it and I also thought, hey, that's interesting. You want to look at the stalls like before the GST increase, after the GST increase, and somehow calculate the average price of a meal. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Then I was looking at the numbers and all. Then the question started percolating in my head. Like, what is an average breakfast meal? What is an average lunch meal? What is an average dinner meal? And the articles, some of them went into detail. But again, with all these research papers, it's so fucking hard to find the actual link to the paper in all these articles. Yeah, like I get how maybe like people might not want to trawl through a 180-page report, but there are podcasters out there that need to do podcasts about these kind of topics. So can you make our lives easier? So kudos to the IPS on their Twitter account. They had a link to the study, but none of the other articles had links to the study.
Yeah, but I have to say that it's not easy read, the study.
Right? Yeah, it's not.
Even the way the data is presented, like I found myself going back to the news article to look at the graphics and everything, as opposed to referring directly to the paper itself. Because the paper is just words and words and words and words. And you would imagine, like, in this day, this day of food porn and Instagram food porn and everything, we'd have like pictures of whatever they're talking about. But no, there's not a single picture, man. It's all words.
Yeah, that's why. And then it made me think of like the COVID report last week. When we were complaining about the childish graphics, I almost prefer the childish graphics. Yeah, this one is like, it's a 180-page report on food and like kopi and nasi lemak, but not even a single picture of food.
Yeah. But to be fair, this is a research paper from the IPS, right? It's not a white paper that was meant to communication between the government and the general population.
Yeah. True.
But I would say that this might have a bigger impact on your day-to-day life than the COVID white paper itself, right?
Yeah, because this one gets down to the specifics, man.
Yeah.
Gets down to a lot of specifics.
Yeah. I did learn some things about what I should or shouldn't order next time when I go to a hawker center also, Yeah.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. And that's all we can.
I know that the Ice Milo has the highest relative increase in price, Ice Milo.
Yeah, and ice Milo is quite a staple for me. I like to drink ice Milo a lot. And just seeing that of all the basket of drinks that they talked about, it's the most expensive as well. It's just something to consider next time you go to a kopitiam.
Yeah. So just to talk a little bit about the framework of what they use, because once you go into the paper, you just get lost lah. So what they did was in late 2022, I think it was from July to September 2022, they visited September and November 2022. They visited 829 food establishments. And the establishments are either a food court, a coffee shop, and a hawker center. And a coffee shop is one of those, like, it's near like a house HDB block or something. Hawker center is like a huge ass, like Maxwell or Old Airport Road lah. So then in 2023, they revisited the establishments. And this was one of the things that I found a bit weird. September to November 2022, you visit 829 food establishments. This year, you visited 50 lah. And they cited that there were constraints of manpower and time lah. But it was still 263 individual stalls. So I think the assumption is that it's still a big enough pool lah. And then essentially the way the meals were calculated, there were 18 items lah. I think 18 commonly purchased items. So amongst the drinks was kopi, ice Milo, canned drinks, and lime juice. Breakfast was a couple of dishes across like every major cuisine lah. So you get your chicken biryani, you get your nasi lemak, you get your wonton noodles, and western chicken chop lah. And then prata. So from what I recall, and correct me if I'm wrong, basically what they did was they looked at the different meal combinations for every meal lah. So for breakfast would be kopi and sliced bread and egg and all that. And then they paired the cheapest option. I think each option they looked at 3 options where appropriate. The cheapest price for the drink and the cheapest price for the meal, and that became the cheapest meal price. And then the most expensive meal was like that. And then they took an average lah. So sometimes I think like when I look on Reddit and all, a lot of people, there is a lot of negative comments about the survey, but sometimes I think it's based on the articles which summarize it a little too much, so without context lah.
What are the negative comments that you see about the article, or at least about the survey?
Yeah, I think they were saying that you are looking at the lowest items and the cheapest. I mean, the most expensive for these, but for those items, but everywhere else for the other items, they also increase lah. So you cannot negate that lah. Then there was another comment on other comments, which is something the study also acknowledged, that it did not take into account the quantity of food. Yeah, maybe the ice Milo cups are way smaller, so but it still increased a bit. And then I think like there were quite a few complaints about the infographics lah, which I think was done not by the Institute of Policy Studies. It was done by the newspapers. There was one with a bar chart that showed the different prices, and one thing I saw online, I was like, hey, what the fuck is the point of the bar charts? All the bars same length, what? I can't even tell the difference. But in some way, that might be what they want to communicate, that across all the meals, across most of Singapore, the prices are not too different.
That's right.
So anything else about the process that stood out to you?
I mean, if you really look at the paper, it's a very long paper, very comprehensive. And I think there's also the point that these food stalls also come and go, right? So even in the follow-up, I think in the follow-up visits, some food stalls are not even there anymore. That's why they might not be able to get look at the same number of food stalls also lah. I think also they very specifically for Bukit Timah, they also excluded Bukit Timah because it wasn't statistically significant, because there are just not that many kopitiams and hawker centers in Bukit Timah apparently, given the kind of area it is like a more atas area right. So Bukit Timah on paper it looks cheaper, but at the same time it's just there just aren't a lot of options at all right. So that's just something to take note of. But I have to say, like, this is really quite an interesting survey right. In the sense that I would imagine, like, even as the researcher having to go around or whatever the students that they hire to do this, having to go around and just check out prices at hawker centers. It's probably a couple of interesting things that you learn about the price of food relatively in Singapore, compared between areas as well, between types of food and between meals as well, right? The stuff that you eat generally for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But for you personally, were there any particular surprises? I already mentioned, like, for me, iced Milo, right? Knowing that iced Milo is so expensive, and the one that also they raised the prices on the most. That makes me think twice about drinking iced Milo. But for you, was there anything?
I think how apparently consistent the prices are across most places in Singapore. And I mean, they break it down into central, northeast, west, east, and north. So you get the places like Novena, Bishan, but you also get like Bukit Panjang, you get Yishun. And yeah, generally the prices don't vary that much, which is where I was like, hey, really? Because I mean, even in where I used to stay last time, Tampines, and where I stay now, you get certain coffee shops that are really a lot cheaper, like ridiculously. I don't even know how they're surviving, kind of cheap. And then some is like, oh, okay, you can feel like this is the fusion kind of hawker center, like, you got like tacos at a hawker center. And I'm like, hey, shit. So, I mean, I know they also explain how they selected this and which estates they selected, but that was what stuck out to me. It's like, hey, really not that much variation. I was surprised by that.
Yeah. I think one thing that also stuck out to me about prices was that, you usually think that hawker center is the cheapest, then followed by your neighborhood kopitiam, and then the air-conditioned food court, right? But apparently for certain dishes, it's not the case. So, for example, for chicken rice and economic rice, right, which is like the two vegetables, one meat kind of rice, the cai peng, it's actually cheaper in kopitiams. That means those kopitiams that you find at estates downstairs and that kind of thing.
Coffee shop, kopitiam is like the food court or that.
Oh yeah, sorry, not the kopitiam food court. I mean like coffee shops, coffee shops.
Coffee shop, yeah.
Colloquially known as kopitiams, coffee shops, and then followed by hawker centers and then food courts. That means, sometimes you can actually get a cheaper plate of chicken rice in your neighborhood kopitiam compared to a large hawker center. So, I guess that's one of those like kind of useless life hacks in Singapore, that actually, just so that in case you want to eat chicken rice,
Actually, that one wasn't surprising to me, partly because, like, I mean, at my house there's old Airport Road Centre, right, food center, and like if you look at those, and what I've also noticed is for the big hawker centers, they tend to be at places where there's a lot of footfall, or like malls or interchanges. So I think the demand for rent there would probably be higher. So the higher prices, for me, like, at least based on experience, even like the amazing chai peng near our office, that is considered a coffee shop, right? So that one, I think I was like, oh, I think it just says a lot more that now hawker centers are almost like getting more, wouldn't say touristy, but for a while, Newton Circus was like, oh, the prices there confirm expensive. I think now most hawker centers are like that, yeah.
No, but I think you're missing the nuance in that hawker centers are still cheaper than most kopitiams for most
coffee
things.
Shop.
Okay, coffee shops.
You're getting me confused.
Hawker centers are still cheaper than most coffee shops for most things.
Oh, is it?
But it's the specific dishes, chicken rice and economic rice, that can be cheaper at kopitiams than hawker centers.
Coffee shops.
Yes. Dude, coffee shops. Coffee shops. Fine. Right. Let's go international. Yes, coffee shops. That means chicken rice and point rice specifically can be cheaper at kopitiams than hawker centers. Yeah. So dude, that's what's surprising to me. I just
want to say, in 1 minute, you say kopitiam 3 times after I told you, please say coffee shops, because it's confusing me.
Yeah. We always have to make room for the lowest common denominator.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, me.
Someone who cannot understand that kopitiam does not refer to the air-conditioned kopitiam.
How you know?
Kopitiam.
Coffee shop.
That's right.
Oh, okay. I see what you mean.
So if you want chicken rice, sometimes going to your neighborhood coffee shop
Yes.
will be cheaper than going to a hawker center. I guess maybe it's because, I don't know, chicken rice in hawker centers. Actually, I don't. I don't know. It's kind of strange why that's the case. Maybe because chicken rice really is seen as like a staple, that has to be provided. There's a lot more volume that's sold. So when it's in a kopitiam, they can actually price it at a price that everybody in the neighborhood wants to eat there, lah. Yeah.
I see. So that was one of the things that, and I've given up. Like, you want to use kopitiam, you just use kopitiam, lah.
Yeah. Why don't we use kopitiam to as per the article, as per the research article as well, lah.
Fine, Terrence. Fine.
They differentiate food courts and kopitiams because they don't care about their brand kopitiam. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I guess the other thing also, prata is apparently very cheap. Prata is cheap, relatively.
But prata is cheaper in the West.
The West.
Right,
yeah,
in the West, right?
Yeah.
That one also, like, I mean, I've no idea why. I've never lived in the West. I've only been like in the East or Far East my whole life. For you?
In the central area.
And Northish. No, central.
Yeah, but I guess the other interesting thing is also because we went to school at RI, right?
Yeah.
In Bishan. Now seeing that Bishan apparently is the most expensive place in Singapore in terms of hawker food and all. Does that surprise you?
Little bit. Because this one they did say, they didn't really take the CBD right?
I don't think they
didn't really take the CBD.
Yeah.
They take the more because one criteria for selecting the residential areas was the population of residents. Yeah. So that was one reason. So I mean, Bishan, don't think it surprises me, Don't think it surprises me.
I guess the only thing is because there's so many schools around there, and we went to school there as well. So I would have thought, so it might be a bit more favorable because the students are right. But I guess not. I guess, it's not. I mean, people are out for the student dollar, right?
But overall, like, you see this survey as valuable, because initially I was like, hey, this is valuable. Then I saw the chatter online, the feedback. I was like, does the issues here and there about the method of calculation or like that derail its importance or effectiveness or thought provokingness?
In what sense? Like, this is something you read, or is your own conclusion about it?
No, so I'm still formulating my own conclusion, because when it comes to like the deciding of the meals, right? Did that strike you as like, hey, isn't that overly simplistic?
Oh, you mean the basket of food and drinks that they chose? I guess you can criticize it for being simplistic, but at the same time, there are certain parameters they have to set for the survey, right? It can't be not everything it can't be customized to which tastes better, or what's the purple rating for this store or anything like that, right? I guess they just have to try and open it up a little bit, and there will be a lot of discrepancies in terms of like what you said, like is an iced Milo cup bigger than a kopi O cup, right? And there will be things like that, but I guess what they're trying to do is just do a broad understanding of food prices in places where people actually dine out the most, and if anything, like what you said, the fact that the prices are not that different between places kind of tells you that there's really not much you can't really arbitrage it or anything like that, right? Like, I live here, and if I eat here, I'll save a lot more money or anything like that. There's no such strategy you can do.
Yeah, I mean, I know people now, they choose houses based on their kids' schools, right? But can you imagine, like, we move house because the chicken rice here is the most cost-effective chicken rice in Singapore, including the price of kopi. No, I think like what you said, I agree that beyond a certain, there has to be some parameters. There's no study that will ever be perfect. I think where maybe people can get thrown off is that if they read just the article and then they start shitting on the study, because you can argue about the way they group different food items to make meals, but they have entire sections devoted to each meal, each food item. There's like an entire section on kopi,
Yeah.
There's a kopi section, there's a chicken rice section. So for example, I'm looking at the chicken rice section now. They even say, okay, the average price for chicken rice across all neighborhoods was $3.80, ranging from $2 to $7.80.
Yeah.
And then hawker centers and kopitiams, because that's what the damn report says also, had similar average prices. And then they go down into like the most common price across hawker centers, food centers, kopitiams, and then they go into the regions. So when you see this, you're like, oh shit, them grouping the meal together was just to give some sort of indication that if you wanted to have a meal at a hawker center or kopitiam or food court or coffee shop, this is an indicative price.
Yeah. And I think
it's an indicative price.
You made a good point that a lot of the articles that are out there, they're just really focusing on the differences in price between places and between food. But if you really read the PDF of the research paper itself, the conclusion, which is only about like 2 pages, the conclusion really, they even talk about what the median income of a university graduate is versus a diploma holder versus a O-level someone with only O-level certification and everything so they actually, the conclusion is that cost of living is rising, and especially relative our household incomes. So they end off by saying the hope is that real wages will increase at similar rates. If not, individuals and households will face higher food costs. So while hawker culture in Singapore is an essential and convenient source of hot, delicious meals for Singaporeans, it may no longer be able to remain as cheap relative to other meal options, given the changes in the economic environment. So, it's quite a somber conclusion from this very, very exciting debate about food prices across Singapore, right? The point is that we're not food prices are going up, and we cannot rely on them to be low forever, right? Especially the price of food, hawker centers and all. And if our real wages don't rise, it's gonna get more painful to go and eat out even at the cheapest places in Singapore.
But then, okay, so just based off that, right? Do you think then that it is the responsibility of these media outlets to make sure that this does not, whatever they publish, does not trivialize the fact that people are feeling the price hike? And I mean, when I look at the study, when I look at the reports, in some way, it's almost trying to tell me, don't worry, across Singapore, the prices are fairly consistent. Most of them did not increase their prices. So it's almost like very subtly saying, just calm down. Everything's going to be okay. And I think that's where there's a lot of backlash, because then if you just trawl the comments on the forums and all, a lot of them are asking, what is the point of this survey? Is it to tell us that we are being irrational for thinking that prices are increasing? Because when you read the articles, right, that's the message I got, that prices are consistent, most of them did not increase their price. Then I'm also thinking but then am I just delusional? Is it things are not getting more expensive? But if you read the study, it communicates something different. Like even that conclusion that you mentioned just now is not really focused on most of the articles.
Yeah. I think the newspaper, the media jumped on it like a lifestyle kind of article, right?
Yes,
where you talk about, where's to get the cheapest food in Singapore, that kind of thing. That feels like a honeycombers article or Time Out article, as opposed to what the study is about. It's about the rising cost of food in Singapore, and how relative to our, the rising cost of living and everything, what's the future look like? And even for the livelihoods of hawkers as well, how it would affect them. So I think you're right in some ways. I think the media could have picked up on that point a lot more and made that a bigger part of the general thrust of the article. Yeah.
So that's why I wonder how the researchers themselves feel, because literally the Straits Times article is prata is cheaper in the West while kopi is cheaper in Central Singapore. IPS study. And then the subheader is, sorry Bishan residents, you have the most expensive breakfast at 9.50. Yeah, that's not the fucking point, man.
Yeah.
You know? And I mean, there's even a Today article that says it is like on their hashtag trending series, Singapore netizens say cost of eating out has risen, disagree with findings of food prices survey. So then it becomes like, then that's where it feels like this survey could be taken or seen differently. Because my feeling after I read the report is different from my feeling after I read the articles.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing, right? I mean, the report is the report, right? It's an actual survey. They had to set parameters. You can't, you can claim that they have some political agenda to it, but you look at the methodology, it looks solid, right? They really put in the time and effort to try and do it properly. But how it's interpreted is that's the part that's up for debate, right? Like how the media decides to report it all. And then, now they've reported it more like a lifestyle kind of article than as opposed to this is the cost of living in Singapore now kind of article.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, one of the more, neutral articles I read was on the Online Citizen. They actually gave a bit more details on, how the data was collected. And it wasn't like sexied up, And yeah, so they even explicitly say, study aim at better understanding the cost of living, does not provide any value judgment on the pricing strategy. Then I was like, then I look at the articles by the other publications. I mean, the Straits Times one was the one that was like, it really feels like a lifestyle article.
Yeah. But at the same time, like that's the stuff that a lot of people gravitate towards, right? Like readers, it's the kind of thing. I live here and my place has the most expensive food in Singapore. Versus, I didn't know other places had less expensive food, blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, generally, lifestyle articles get a lot of clicks because of those reasons, right?
Yeah, so it's about the clicks, is it, Terrence? It's clickbait. Clickbait.
I guess, maybe they should have just included more details inside the article itself, lah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at least CNA and Today, I think they included excerpts of the limitations of the study and at least felt a little more substantial, whereas
yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's where it gets a little tricky. You have these studies which are interesting, but then when you read the media and generally I would say at least the ones I found, the response hasn't been positive.
I see. Interesting. See, so it's one of those situations where you think that everything is done and with good intentions and everyone should be happy or glad that this is even done. But no, it's not always the case, right?
You gotta package it, man. You gotta package it, guys.
Yeah, you gotta package it. Which actually is a I was trying to do a segue to our second topic.
Nice. Yeah, can.
Which is also
go on.
Something that on the surface, ostensibly, it looks like a very happy occasion for what it should be very happy occasion for Asians, for women, especially for the country of Malaysia. But no, man, not everyone is happy about it. And what is this thing that happened?
So there's been a slew of Malaysian political leaders and government leaders coming out and just being so congratulatory to Michelle Yeoh and saying, it's I think the PM Anwar Ibrahim said the government of Malaysia joins the nation in expressing warm congratulations to Yeoh for this significant achievement. She's created history and basically a lot of Malaysian pride lah. A lot of Malaysian pride. Like Michelle Yeoh is like the icon of Malaysia, and that her illustrious and exemplary career in this field will certainly continue to be a source of great inspiration and motivation to our homegrown actors and actresses and provide even greater impetus to the growth of our local industry. That was by Anwar Ibrahim. So, and a lot of people have jumped on that bandwagon. But then commentators, the internet and all just said that, this is not hypocritical. What did Malaysia have to do with Michelle Yeoh's success? Yeah.
That's right.
So I mean, it was interesting. I mean, we've had our fair share of and I say we as in Singapore, debates about like Joseph Schooling, for example, who left Singapore to go train and study in the US. So, what do you think? What do you think of that argument? I mean, we can dive into like Michelle Yeoh's biography and all, but at the top of your head, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people would associate Michelle Yeoh more with like Hong Kong cinema than Malaysian cinema per se, because since the I think 80s 90s she was already an action star there, and then from there she catapulted into the global stage by becoming a Bond girl, right? Alongside Pierce Brosnan in Tomorrow Never Dies. I remember those days. It was like it really jumped out like it's quite a big deal, right? That an Asian star was becoming a Bond girl. I think it was a very big deal back then. As is winning an Oscar now. But yeah, Michelle Yeoh has broken through glass ceiling after glass ceiling, lah. And but it really wasn't from her home base in Malaysia. But that said, you know, she's always she's never shied away from her ties with Malaysia, lah, right? And we don't have to go deep into her biography or anything like that. But I think like even just a cursory search, years ago she was involved in a bit of controversy when she actually publicly came out in support of Najib, PM Najib, the ex-PM of Malaysia, Najib, who now is, you know, serving time in jail for I think for 1MDB and everything, his involvement in 1MDB and all that, right? But back then, I think like 7-8 years ago, she was like seen in public at an event by that featured Najib, lah, right? That means it looked like it was in support of Najib as well. Yeah. So she's not without her controversy with regards to Malaysia, but she's never disavowed Malaysia or anything like that, right? In that sense. So, can you should people from Malaysia not be allowed to celebrate her achievements? No, I think she's still Malaysian through and through, and yeah, nothing wrong with that. But what do you think when you saw this?
I think it was more about the institutions claiming credit for Michelle Yeoh. It's like, okay, you know, I remember when Joseph Schooling won the gold medal. I remember the time I was where I was when watching the race, and like I was fucking happy. I was screaming, and I could hear other people in the block screaming. I think generally everyone in Singapore was like fucking happy, lah. And that didn't get any backlash. I think it's when certain like brands, or I remember the photo with Singapore Airlines where he was at the back. Then you remember that photo?
Yeah,
he arrived and then so that's when it felt like, oh, for these institutions and organizations and companies to kind of really jump on the bandwagon, that one felt a bit like really, especially like the Singapore Swimming Association, which has its own fair share of criticism from the swimmers, lah. So this one I think is more against the leaders of Malaysia kind of being all congratulatory now, lah. Because yeah, like, you know, you said that she never shied away from being Malaysian. Yeah, in my mind, I've always known her as Malaysian. Whereas someone like Jimmy Choo, who I just found out today is Malaysian, I never fucking knew. You know? So to her credit, yeah, she's never shied away from that. But I think it's also useful to just do a very quick sweep of her biography, because she was born in Malaysia in 1962 in Ipoh, which is in Perak. And she was there till 15 when she moved to the UK with her parents. When she was 20, she won the Miss Malaysia World Contest. She represented Miss Malaysia at the Miss World pageant in 1983. And then after that, she moved to Hong Kong around that time. And then after that, she was kind of based in Hong Kong. But she still has, her mom is still in Malaysia. There was a viewing party organized in Malaysia for the Oscars. She has family in Singapore. You know, she has 2 half siblings in Singapore. Like one's a lawyer, one's a doctor, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then since then she's been in LA. She's like I think now she lives in Geneva, Switzerland. But yeah, I don't know. So when the leaders like are congratulatory, is there anything wrong with that? I don't know. I don't know the extent. I know in Malaysia, the politicians is like a whole next level of criticism and flack that they always get.
Yeah. I mean, it's a very common thing, right? Remember when Joseph Schooling suddenly he was brought to Parliament And then there was a standing ovation for him in Parliament.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was brought to Parliament. He went to Parliament.
Yeah, he was in Parliament. And then they gave him a standing ovation in Parliament itself.
But that was still okay, right?
No, I mean, my point is that, there's all this, every time when something good happens, there's all these theatrics, right, that come with it. So, it's just part of politics, right? It's like a politician hugging or kissing a baby. Is the equivalent, it's the institutional equivalent, right?
But then, okay, so then there was a difference if let's say I was eating at a coffee shop, Joseph Schooling walks in, I will stand up and give him a standing ovation. So that one, why is that different from like Parliament or like a political leader or government leader just applauding lah? Why does that feel different?
You're not an institution who has anything to gain in particular by being associated with him, right? Whereas if you're an institution or even a politician or what, who, is banking on popular support to keep your job, right? Things like that. Your job literally relies on people, seeing that you are associated with, successful, other successful country members and everything. Then, it makes a difference. It's like why you would be pretty grossed out if, it is kind of gross when all the brands suddenly jumped on Joseph Schooling, jumped on Joseph Schooling and started to put out all these congratulatory messages that were paid for by their brand, and somehow trying to associate their brand with the very momentous occasion without having to pay Joseph Schooling for any image rights or anything like that right? So that's where it's like when there's a ulterior motive to it then it's a bit annoying. So for you, I think you standing at a coffee shop and clapping at a kopitiam and clapping for Joseph Schooling, nobody's gonna bat eyelid.
Coffee shop, dude. Coffee shop.
Nobody's gonna bat eyelid. You're not gonna get extra chicken in your chicken rice or anything like that because of that. So do it. It's not an issue. But the moment that there's any kind of incentive, external incentive for you to give a standing ovation to Joseph Schooling, then people will question it.
But then in this case, if they are just offering congratulations, that one also, like, is it wrong lah? Like, okay, so let's say an organization, I don't know whether the swimming organization in Singapore did this, so I won't use that as an example. But let's say there was an organization that said, we played a pivotal role in Joseph Schooling's early years. Like, I think right now there are the seems like when the politicians say, it's just inspiration to the film and TV industry of Malaysia that people can achieve. I think a lot of people are saying, yo man, you have clamped down on so many of our movies and TV shows. The industry is still not as mature as it could be. It's still very hard. So why does the government make it seem like they're doing all they can to create future Michelle Yeohs? I think that's where maybe some of the sentiments come from.
Yeah. I think you can see that there is some criticism from independent filmmakers who feel like the Malaysian authorities don't support them enough, right? And we don't know the exact details of what support they have there, but I can commiserate with that as well, right? When you feel like, in our down times we didn't get any help, and then now that something good has happened, suddenly you're jumping through hoops to congratulate me and everything, right? So I can get a sentiment, but I'm sure the most important person to ask is probably Michelle Yeoh herself, right? If this is an issue, if she feels angry about it or doesn't want to be celebrated as a Malaysian, but if she's okay with it, then like why should anyone be unhappy on her behalf, right?
But Terrence, isn't that the way of the game these days? What? Everyone has a right to get angry on everyone else's behalf. That's the currency of the world today, Terrence.
It is, and that's what we're trying to move away from, right? Like our brains haven't evolved. We haven't evolved to understand what carrying a camera around you at all times and being able to film people and put them online where millions of people have access to it. Our brains haven't processed that yet. Evolution hasn't caught up with social media yet. That's why we're struggling to find the healthy medium between sharing and oversharing, if anything.
Yeah. But this is also coming from the person who in the last podcast told me that if I'm ever arguing with my wife or someone in public, anyone else should come up to us and ask us where NTUC is. Correct. Just getting up on our business, in our business, and getting angry on our behalf, right, Terence?
No, yeah, but you don't go in with the phone. That's the most important thing. You just go in person. You just show your face, big eyes and all, and just ask, where's the NTUC?
Where's the NTUC? Where's the NTUC? Maybe even in Parliament, anytime they're like skewering one of the politicians, and another politician, excuse me, after this I need to get some apples. Where's the NTUC?
Exactly.
Oh, fucking peace. Peace in Parliament.
Where's the NTUC?
Yeah, where? Yeah, that's why. Yo, NTUC. Let's work out a partnership, man. Where's NTUC? You can save like what is maybe even lives, but you can save like arguments, emotional trauma.
Yeah.
Where's NTUC? Hashtag where's NTUC?
So I can foresee some arguments going about the movie that Michelle Yeoh won for, Everything Everywhere All at Once. There's some people who like it, some people who don't like it that much. And then if you see the argument breaking out, you just step in and say, where's the NTUC? And then people will stop.
Where's the NTUC? No, but on that, right? Like, I also realized yesterday, I think that there was a Bollywood song that was performed at the Academy Awards. And the best original song went to a song from a Bollywood movie, which is great. But I won't deny that there's a part of me that thinks, is this just the Oscars trying to go the complete opposite direction and being so so sucking up to the minorities that they're like, okay, this year we give you everything. So I'm trying to wrap my head around it. I haven't seen Everything Everywhere All at Once. I want to see it. I'm managing my expectations.
Yeah,
but I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just quite appalled that you didn't ask for my opinion as a person of color about how I feel about Michelle Yeoh's historic achievement for Asians.
Please, Terence, please tell me, as a person of color, tell me what you felt when you found out she won.
I mean, if anybody listening to this, if you know the dynamic of what we're talking about, like between Harish and myself, I think we are in agreement that I am in agreement with Harish also a bit. Yeah, the whole thing about the Oscars, it feels like a complete switch from, remember when the whole Oscars so white.
Yeah, that's why.
Like it went the opposite. This is like the 180-degree turn where suddenly everything is about diversity and cultural, and all that, and you just kind of takes away from the win a little bit when you start thinking, oh, is it because of some diversity quota that they're trying to meet in terms of having Oscars win. But that's it. For example, Parasite won the Oscar previously, right? And Parasite was really really awesome movie, right? I think almost unanimously awesome.
Yeah.
Everything Everywhere All at Once was pretty good in my opinion. But was it like 7 Oscars good? Yeah, it's another discussion, right? Yeah, so it does make me question a little bit, like just like you, yeah.
But amongst all your fellow people of color, at your dinner table conversations,
I think a lot of people. I think people in Singapore, a lot of people in Singapore are very. They actually are very happy Michelle Yeoh won because she's from a neighboring country and everything, and it's a big deal, right? Global stage, Oscars, Will Smith slapping Chris Rock on stage. These kind of things are like stuff that people around the world talk about. So for Michelle Yeoh to reach this pinnacle, it's at 60 years old as well, no less. It's a big deal, right? And so I mean, okay, at the end of the day, don't be so cynical, just take it for what it is. I mean, at the end of the day, this whole Best Picture competition also is so, we all know how subjective the whole thing is as well, right? So why suddenly pretend like it's like this objective measure of accomplishment, right? When it never was meant to be in the first place.
Yeah, but now I think so I mean, I don't know, man. I'll watch the movie and save my judgment. But to Michelle Yeoh, right? Even if you read her Wikipedia article, right, her life story is pretty baller, where she started and what she has achieved on a global scale, right? I mean, even her title for Malaysia itself is Yang Berbahagia Tan Sri Dato Sri Michelle Yeoh. Then it's basically all like the national honorary titles. Then she was awarded the Darjah Datuk Paduka Mahakota Perak. The just all this, and she's the Legion d'Honneur. What's the French order? Officer
Legion d'Honneur, yeah.
Legion d'Honneur, yeah.
Yeah.
So she's got all this, and like, walao, it's crazy lah, like what she has achieved, and it's so. I mean, all kudos to her.
Yeah.
She is legit. She is badass. But yeah, just interesting lah. Interesting.
Don't so cynical lah. Don't take away from this grand moment for people of color and everything. You know.
Hey, you yourself said also you're feeling it. I'm just saying a little part of my brain. Okay.
Yeah. But
and also,
I would say like in Southeast Asia, right? We probably should celebrate this a lot more because it really is someone from the region, right? Born in the region.
Yeah,
raised in
the
region.
hood, the crib. Yeah.
You know, as opposed to, I mean, not saying there's any lesser or what, right? But if it was an Asian American who won the award or what, it would feel a bit more distance between us and that Asian American experience, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's still something worth celebrating. I mean, Michelle Yeoh, she speaks English, Malay, Cantonese, everything, you know, all languages that we use in the region as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it should be something we celebrate.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that she has family in Singapore, family in Malaysia.
Yeah.
It does feel very close to home.
Yeah. It feels much closer to home.
Yeah.
She was in Crazy Rich Asians, you know, everything, playing mahjong.
You just lost me, dude. You just, okay. Yeah. Everything else before that was good. But I mean, for her, right, she was in Crazy Rich Asians. She's in this. She's really like the icon of the Asian wave, in the West.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, she can probably walk up to anyone and say, you know what? Fuck you. And people will be like, oh, thank you, Michelle Yeoh, for swearing in my face.
Yeah. And actually, one thing we haven't talked about is you pointed out to me what was the last big winner at Oscars that had 6 awards, right? And the fact that this Asian, or at least this Malaysian star in this picture that was featured mostly Asians and beat that picture in terms of the record for the most wins recently. What was that last movie with 6 Oscars?
It's the Western hit Slumdog Millionaire.
Yeah, so was it Slumdog?
Slumdog Millionaire.
Wasn't it a similar situation for a whole continent of people as well, right?
Yeah, but it wasn't like the Crazy Rich South Asians like 2 years before that just had that same kind of vibe lah. Like, you know, it felt like a little more organic lah. And yeah, so
which one felt more organic?
No, it didn't. More like a gradual thing lah. I know now I sound like a racist bigot, but no, I'm still happy that Michelle Yeoh won. And I think it's great that now, I mean, no one bats an eyelid when you hear the word Singapore or Malaysia in the West, which is great. And now the fact that these people are winning awards is great. Even the Bollywood performance was awesome. The song that won Best Original Song is awesome. It's just, for me, it's like, okay lah, just okay. I hope it's sincere lah, and I hope next year it doesn't just go back to like, okay, we've done our part. We've done our equivalent of Racial Harmony Day in 2023. Now let's get back to business.
Now a white person can win the award.
Yeah, that's right.
I think at the end of the day, like even if this was just a sort of life, it was almost equivalent to like a lifetime achievement award for Michelle Yeoh, right? Having done everything she's done.
Yeah.
It's very apt, right? It's very apt, and you would want it.
Yeah, it
for
is.
any. Yeah, you would want it for any legend of the screen or icon, regardless of whatever race they are, right? To have this, to be able to ride off into the sunset or retire very happily with this feather in the cap, right? It's like I guess the equivalent is like, remember when the Lord of the Rings trilogy first was released? And then I think when the first movie came out, it was like everyone loved it, audiences loved it, critics loved it, but it was given no love at the Oscars, right? No love at all.
Yeah, correct,
but
correct.
they waited until the full trilogy was out, the third movie was out, then they awarded, Peter Jackson the best director and everything, I believe. So it was almost
Yeah.
like they knew that there were 3 movies and there's no point giving it the first one and then setting up like unrealistic expectations for the second and third one. They were just, at the end of everything, then you give the award, right? Which is what has happened here for Michelle Yeoh. So yeah, happy for her.
Yeah. And I mean, in terms of the other changes, the fact that Top Gun Maverick was nominated for Best Picture, I think that's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. And I thought Jimmy Kimmel also did a good job with the opening monologue.
Oh, I haven't seen it, but no controversy this time. Nobody getting slapped or anything on stage.
No, he threw some shade at Will Smith also, very classily. So that was good.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Cool.
So yes, again alongside the happy occasion of Michelle Yeoh winning, is there one Shiok comment that you want to highlight?
One Shiok comment for me was something from like a long-time Redditor Bud Den Ho on the Yalabat episode 375. She commented that, Terrence actually said Yalabat in this episode. Will y'all consider making and playing a sound bite every time one of y'all says Yalabat? I don't think a sound bite, but I think because even last weekend when my wife and I went to Lau Pa Sat over on Saturday, we met a listener and he was so nice, and he's a fan, and I think I don't know how it came up, but he even said the ba 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 ba.
Then I was thinking, came up to you and said it.
No, we were talking first, and he was just saying, he loves the podcast and all. And if you're listening now, shout out to you. That made my night. But just I think that jingle, that jingle. Maybe at any time in future, we should just. That's how we find out other Yalabat listeners, wherever you are in the world. You shout Yala, and then you wait for a ba 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 ba. That kind of thing. Yeah. So I mean, it's an extension from the comment. It's not the comment itself. But yeah, I think, and it just always tickles me knowing that I can't even remember how the hell we came up with that intro.
Yeah. I think it was just off the cuff, right? Yeah.
Yeah. It just came up, but maybe like a super cut of Yalabat. But that one at some point in the future, when AI
can
reach that, AI has reached that level, correct? Right. Pull out all the Yalabats in all our podcasts before.
That's right.
Yeah, so that was my one Shiok comment.
My one Shiok comment was from Kosher Jellyfish on I think Yalabat 374, when we talked about the Pokemon cockroach that was discovered in Singapore. So apparently Kosher Jellyfish is the cousin of the person, the entomologist who found and who discovered and named the cockroach, and say they can link us up. So yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy that a listener of ours is related to one of the people that we talked about in the podcast. But yeah, it'd be awesome if we can also talk to the entomologist. I think there's a lot of curiosity about who the people are and what the methodology was. And I literally was at the Natural History Museum last weekend. I visited for the first time in a while. And yeah, it's such an awesome little place that exists in such the far reaches of Singapore, that it's never that crowded, but it's always something interesting to see when I'm there. Yeah. So yeah,
totally, man. Please.
I think being linked up would be awesome. And I think in this, a lot of people are curious about how this Singaporean cockroach was discovered, and maybe it's something that we can also be proud of, like how Michelle Yeoh is for Malaysians. This Pokemon cockroach is our equivalent, right?
Yeah. So we should have billboards in Singapore, just celebrating this Pokemon cockroach.
We should, yeah.
No, but yeah, totally, man. Please hook us up, how on Reddit or just
DMs, what would be anything, yeah.
We can just reply and take it from there.
Yep.
Take it from there.
But cool.
Yes. Cool. All right. And what about your one Shiok thing, man?
My one Shiok thing, I think, is just the fact. I mean, The Last of Us, the TV series. I might have mentioned it before, or I think Andy Chen mentioned it before as a one Shiok thing. But this past weekend, it was just they just finished releasing all the episodes. And I would say it is, in terms of video game adaptations, probably one of the best ever. And very, very, very well made for television. And I think all the performances, the actors and the actress, Bella, what's her name? Bella, what's her name? Bella Ramsey, right? I was going to say Bella Hadid. But Bella Ramsey and Pedro Pascal, they were excellent in it. And even if you never played the game, it's still a good watch. So highly recommended for everyone. The Last of Us.
Yeah, I think that's going to be my next show.
The
Last of Us.
Yes. What is your one? Okay,
my one Shiok thing is, my one Shiok thing is this another research paper that came from University of Warwick, and it was Warwick or Warwick. I think it's Warwick. So the discovery or the finding that apparently, right, like apes deliberately spin themselves around to make themselves dizzy. Because have you seen videos of like gorillas like spinning around either on the ground or hanging from vines and spinning around? Apparently after this, academics studied like videos of gorillas, chimpanzees and orangutans, so it's not just them. They had enough evidence to suggest that they're doing this almost like for recreation and not a primal need. So then they said one reason could be to alter their mental state. So basically to get high off dizziness. And they said it has implications because if these primates are doing it, maybe our earlier ancestors used to do it as well. And that eventually led the groundwork for like all the hallucinogens and psychedelics and all. And I was like, oh shit. So they on average they spin like 1.5 times per second. They use ropes and vines. And I've seen a lot of these videos on TikTok of like people imitating gorilla spinning just for the heck of it. But holy shit, that was potentially a gorilla getting high.
But I mean, once you got a small toddler and you observe the toddler as well, you realize that toddlers and apes all like to spin.
Similar.
Yeah, they like to spin to just feel the feeling of highness. Yeah.
Oh, so your kid does it also?
Yeah. So I think any parent with young kids, you would definitely recognize when you watch your kids suddenly just standing in the middle of the living room and just spinning around for no reason other than just to feel dizzy for a bit. Did you do that as a kid? I'm sure you did that as a kid.
I don't remember.
Oh, you don't
I have
remember?
No idea. You remember? You remember spinning?
Yeah, I remember like the sort of, it's a funny feeling, right, of like being very dizzy and everything. And generally,
you remember doing that when you were young?
Harmless. Generally quite harmless. You know how in university orientations and all that, all these like games that they make you play, where you have to spin.
Yeah.
You put your finger on the floor and then spin around it and things like that.
Yeah.
And after you got to complete tasks, isn't that? Didn't you do a lot of that like in JC or university?
I did that, but that was not toddler lah.
Oh, okay.
You're saying you remember your toddler times where you used to spin?
No. I don't remember. No, I remember being a kid. I remember being a kid, and and you enjoy the sensation of whether it's being spun around by someone or spinning around yourself. Yeah, I do remember.
Okay, spun around. I mean, I don't remember enjoying it to that specificity lah. But I actually now I can see like
you must be fun at parties.
You tell me you remember your stuff when you're 3 years old. All I remember is like pooping through a couch. Once I pooped through a couch. And that was one of the earliest memories I have. I don't know why the fuck I remember that. But I don't remember spinning like I'm fun, okay? Anyone listening thinking I'm not fun, I'm fun, okay? I'm a fun guy. I'm a delight to be around.
Yeah. Exactly. Just make sure that you speak at twice your normal pace when you talk to Harish, because he doesn't have the patience to listen to you speaking at your normal pace.
Face to face different from podcast, Terrence. Face to face different from podcast.
Okay.
I'm a good listener. I'm a fun and good listener.
Yeah. But yes, I think it's just one of those things. A good reminder to put out there. Harish is a fun
guy.
person
Yes,
to be around. Yeah,
I'm a fun person.
He will tell you about interesting articles about like spinning apes that he read about on the internet as well. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a lot of Shiok things that will never stop coming from my mouth.
Yes, yes.
Exactly.
Cool.
Sweet. All right. As always, we'll put a link to everything in the show notes, including the IPS study, so you don't have to go looking around.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So it's such a headache to find, right?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. And we'll talk to y'all soon.